Hello everybody, welcome back to another YouTube video. My name is Matthew and today we are taking another bit of a figure comparison, but this is a very special one that I've wanted to do for a very long time because these figures are so similar yet so different. It's going to be a really interesting match to really decide who here would be the winner. Now, you probably can tell by the title and thumbnail, but if you haven't, you just randomly clicked on this, here's what we're comparing. In this corner, we are reviewing, or I guess comparing, the Funko Heat Ray Godzilla from the Funko Pop movies Godzilla vs. Kong line up against the Youtooz Collectables Godzilla vs. Kong Heat Ray Godzilla. Now, I've seen a lot of people, compare these in their videos, but no one's ever done a full-on comparison in a single video like this. That's all about the comparison, not just to review him or review him. So that's what we're going to be doing. In this 6-rounder, sculpt and paint articulation, size, accessories, price, and availability, we're going to be going over which one of these figures has the most points, and at the end of it, will win the war. So, starting with sculpt and paint. Now, I must make mention that these are two completely different types of Godzillas. We have one that is trying to replicate more of looking like a Funko Pop, because Funko Pops are kind of chibi, they're kind of big-eyed, while this looks more like a legendary Godzilla on screen in terms of like its proportion and stuff. Because Godzilla has like the kind of small head, even though this is fairly large, this somewhat large hands, the large feet. And, it's just, this looks more like what we saw on screen, but does accuracy mean everything? Well, let's look at the heads. The heads are completely different on both, because here we have the standard Funko versus Youtooz thing, where they go crescent eyes versus circular eyes, and the teeth are bigger on the Funko, but I would argue, actually it's about the same. In terms of the inside of the mouth, again, completely different approaches, or at least in terms of color. This one has its standard, membrane kind of pink kind of color where you can see the tongue fine in there, and the gums and the top of the roof of the mouth, top of the mouth, whatever, and the bottom of the mouth right under the tongue are both blue on both versions. But the Funko has the advantage of actually putting some detail. Yeah, there's a slight indent, but that could just be because of the way it's molded. Here we have beautiful sculpting and detailing across the head for the Funko with a beautiful combination of blue, gray, and green paint to just bring out some of the much finer details. And the nose is painted really, the sculpted in really well too. The whole body, in fact, might be inconsistent in some areas because you see the forearm right there. It's not very well painted, but then you get to the forearm on this side. It's really well painted. Probably couldn't get the paintbrush in there all that much. But even underneath the tail, there's some really nice paint. Nice kind of blue, kind of gray wash to it. And, you get a lot of blue spines. It just looks amazing. Lots of detail there. Although they are much smaller on this one compared to its original counterpart. While here, it does have some amazing sculpted details, but actually has two different styles going for it. It has a much more crocodilian kind of texture look to it. And then meanwhile, you get to the tail, which it actually does transition into, so I'm glad they just don't stop it at the seam line, and actually work their way into a much more angular, cartoony, blocky kind of shape. This really does feel like a cartoonized Godzilla, which I love. The only downside I can really think of is that due to the fact that this is, like, very smooth, it's very prone to, like, dust and lint, whether like detail, it doesn't catch it as much, because like you can kind of see there, kind of a bit of an issue, but hey, it's alright. But I will give it that this seems a bit more vibrant than its Funko counterpart, and has a lot of like blue kind of gray nails. It just looks really nice. The chest pack looks I would argue it looks more pronounced on this one, but this one looks more like a realistic kind of thing. And overall, I gotta say, both Youtooz and Funko really outdid themselves. Of course, the dorsal spines are fine and really good and much bigger on the Youtooz. But if I had to pick a winner, I would actually give it a tie, because I was going to give it to the Funko, but the Youtooz really did impress me with how it has two different styles mashed up into one, and not to mention, it does a lot more things in terms of, like, being consistent, whether this is not really all that consistent. It has a lot of brushing here, but not too much there, and this just feels more consistent, this doesn't, so I gotta give this to a tie. I'd argue he wins, but only if he had the consistency to go up against him, so it's a tie. Articulation time, and no one has any articulation, so we can automatically give this one a tie, and moving on to the third round, which is size, and both of them are the exact same height, meant to scale with their own respective figure lines, so we can obviously call this one a tie too. Accessories, now round 4. We're in kind of a complicated situation. See, mine didn't come with the heat ray, well, specifically the Youtooz. Essentially what it looked like is, you can actually just search it up, it's very easy to find, but it's just a small little glass-like beam. It's not made of glass, it kind of looks like glass, but that has some debris at the bottom, and it sits kind of like in his mouth. You can see the peg hole, and it just kind of shoots downward. I'm actually making my own custom beam because of that, but honestly, it's not that bad. But this beam I did get with this Heat Ray Godzilla, which you can just plug in the mouth, and it looks really nice. I will say that judging from pictures and videos, this actually does work with the Youtooz, so if you want, like, it doesn't plug in, it just kind of rests there, almost as if it did work, so if you want to work with that, go ahead. I will say that the Youtooz, I like the look of this one, like the plastic material, but this looks more unique because it actually has some impact debris. So again, I'm going to have to give this a tie, because not to mention, they're both the same type of accessory, even though one's kind of unique. I prefer the color on this one. It's just, yeah, it's a tie. They both do the same thing. Atomic breath to the ground. You get the point. Price. Now, this is kind of a stomp. He's about $10 to retail, as most Funko Pops are. He is $29.99 or $30 on the Youtooz website, which they sadly sold out and they don't restock. So $24.99, while it's a bit cheaper on Books A Million, that's still almost 3 times the cost of the Funko. So Funko wins this round. And for round 6, availability, which this guy was a general release that got an exclusive, that was exclusive to FYE stores, I think? Yeah, it was exclusive to FYE stores, and they were about priced the same, if not the exclusive one was a tad bit cheaper, maybe like 15, but still, they were basically in the same price range, and you can find this guy probably still on the aftermarket for a decent price. This one, I had a hard time looking for this thing, and I finally found him incomplete. Do I regret not buying it with the beam? No. Because I still like this figure, but my advice to you is, well, actually, you know, in terms of availability, this thing is a Books A Million exclusive. That's right. You could, in terms of like website retailing, you could only find this guy at Youtooz.com or booksamillion.com. That's it. Not Big Bad Toy Store, not FYE, even though they are selling the other Godzilla vs. Kong Youtooz items, like the Kong on Throne and the Godzilla vs. Kong on Aircraft Carrier set. Yeah, this guy was not there. So, he stomps. And so, what's the scores? Tie point for sculpt and paint, and then articulation, size, and then accessories. Price went to Funko, and then availability went to Funko, so it's 4-6, Funko wins. Now, I know what you're thinking. But Matthew, isn't it my option? Well, of course it's your option to pick. I'm not saying you should go out and say, oh, this one's better than this. Because personally, they both have their ups and downs. But I think there's just, if you're looking for only one, if you somehow see this one, I'm not saying this is a bad way to go. I just think that he's a bit overpriced. $30 for this? Not really worth it. I feel like if he was about more 20 or 10, like him, that would be better. But honestly, you know, I got this guy for about, how much did I get him for? About retail price, so I'm fine with it. But him, you can find him anywhere. At least anywhere that sells Funko. With that being said, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys did like it, definitely subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, everyone.